reality, it would look like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think first contact happened a long time ago. I think they were our creators. I
So
think,
again, this
yeah,
is what people think.
right.
So this is imagination, and this is most likely reality.
That's
So
very,
are we
very,
ready for that?
yeah. Well, we've been living, I mean, there have been times where we've been living beside them, and that was the purpose of this temple before was, we were living beside them in the same cities, in ancient Egypt. And that's a cool one. Um, so first contact is happened a long time ago. That's ancient history. It would be, it would really be what they say. It would be the return, you know. And um, I don't know how. I think they are trying to prepare people. I think that's not really the job of DoD to do that, though. Um, and uh, but I do see people on the forefront trying to do that. Like I mentioned, there's Mauro Biglino, who was a former Vatican Bible translator, and he's retranslating the Bible into modern terms where it makes so much more sense now. Um, like Holy Spirit is holy craft. Well, suddenly that makes a lot more sense. Um, and then there's Paul Wallace. He's Australian, and he was a preacher for 30 years. And he talks a lot. He's got 3 or 4 books out. um, and he talks about the sky people, and how the sky people are ubiquitous. They're in every religion from every place around the world. And so I do see people out there, who are, putting the truth out and trying to get social change and acceptance to happen. But I'm not sure how much people are paying attention. And I'm not sure how much they're going to pay attention until it affects their life personally. And, until there is that craft hanging in the sky. And there are people who actually question, well, even if they do, declare a holy war basically by sacrificing these heifers and then attempting to build a temple where there's a Muslim mosque. Um, that's going to set off a major war. um, would would any entities even want to go there after that? After that much bloodshed and that much fighting and setting off a global war for that, maybe they wouldn't even want to go there after that. Maybe it wouldn't feel safe. Why? I personally think they would go to another part of the world. And I think it's just really cool when you look at, when you re-look at these temples as, they historically they've really been, um, like, uh, places, they've been like almost they've been like ambassadors. These have been like embassies. These have been like extraterrestrial, interdimensional, other entity embassies. Um, but they didn't have embassy; they had, temple. But they're kind of serving the same function. And then the Raelians, we talked about them before. And there's a documentary out on Netflix. Did you ever get to watch that
I
documentary about the?
did. Yeah, wild.
Yeah,
Absolutely wild.
yeah.
Was not what I was expecting either. We do have a couple questions. So Jess asks, so how do we go from here and stay positive instead of filled with existential dread? She is Jewish, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good question. I mean, I guess it really depends on what your beliefs are, what you subscribe to, and what gives your life meaning. Um, none of us are, going to have much impact in the bigger picture, alone. Um, so I think it's important to, do the things that make you happy. And, there are a lot of, I mean, the Christians that see it as a good thing, they think they're going to be raptured up and taken away. There's nothing I would love more right now than to be abducted by aliens and taken away. As long as I'm
Right.
not being abducted for food or to another slave planet. Um, like, yeah, I'd be willing to go. Just like in Spielberg's movie, he showed,
Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
the, what did he call them there? He called them pilgrims. You know,
The
I think
pilgrims.
it,
Yes.
I think it offers a lot of possibility of hope. Um, and I think it's really exciting, where even without the aliens or, any otherworldly beings coming back, where our technology is getting to the point where we are going to be on other planets. And that's pretty dang exciting. As far as our accepted history goes, we haven't done that. And, I think that there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of technological change. We are in the middle of a space revolution, and that's going to change everything from energy to the economy to where and how we mine, all of that. So I think the idea of going to space is very exciting. Whether we go with Elon Musk or Bezos or the aliens, I don't know, but I think that would be really cool to do that.
And if you think NASA, like, so if something's going down, and if you don't think NASA, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, if you don't think all of them are clued in on this, you guys have to remember that when the space program first um, began, they used to, the satellites would eject the film cartridges. Like, remember these kind of film,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would eject those. Pilots would come and basically grab them with these like makeshift antennas on the front of the thing. This is the company that made these, right? Kodak. Um, they would ship the the reels of pictures from the satellites that we were taking of the moon, and the first shots. They were sending them to Kodak to be developed, right? So again, the military industrial complex, they've got to be clued in to some degree. And is the Schumer Amendment, are all these things ways to bring the American people up to speed? And are other people kind of trying to block it because, like I said, Lockheed and Northrop, they have a lot of money to be gained, even if the Messiah is returning. Because the day the Messiah returns, the next day, your cable bill is going to be due.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I don't know if we'll still have TV, but I think that it's really, I do think,
Apple,
of course,
Amazon, they're all in on it.
of course, the government knows, absolutely they know. I think that's a big part of what Grush's testimony was trying to do, was he was trying to, sort of slowly sensitize people to the idea that there are interdimensionals, which is, a fascinating, he's not even using the word extraterrestrial, an interdimensional, which would make total sense. If you're traveling long distances, you would most likely travel through dimensions instead of use space. But that
Right.
testimony happened in Congress. And then when you look at a lot of the experiencers, their experiences that they come back with, when you look at a lot of these people who've had contact, And one of the biggest themes that they have in from their experiences are visuals of Armageddon, end of the world type stuff. Yeah, and that's been happening for decades. Um, and I've heard people say, well, they're just doing that to be cruel. They're just doing that to measure your people's reactions. But is it possible they are actually showing them something, and they're trying to warn us or get us ready? Eric, UFOs cover ups and conspiracy. With your war between Israel and Palestine waging,
With war between Israel and Palestine waging, when the war ends, they say we enter the 7 years of peace. Will end, Antichrist will return, and how do you think that will happen?
Yeah, so um
I didn't know
that
there were 7 years of peace.
right. Yeah, that's one belief, that could be possible. I mean, I think the only way for this to really happen is for everybody to come to an agreement that, your religion has as much legitimacy as mine, and we're all seeing facets of the same gem.
Yes, we all need to step back, because I
What was
think
that?
we all need to step back. All the religions of the world need to step back and realize just how similar they all are, right? Instead of fighting these holy wars, hey Logan, instead of fighting these holy wars and battling over land, um, I mean, it's ridiculous. We need to step away from it all, and we need to look in and say, "Huh, it looks like we all have a piece of the puzzle, right? Whether it's Quetzalcoatl in South America, or um, uh, uh, what is it, Thoth in Sumerian, or Noah, or any of these. They all tell such grimly similar stories. It's just, it blows my mind that they can't step back and be like, oh, your book is kind of like mine. There's only a couple differences, Maybe if we came together and we compared notes, we could advance.
Right. Well, and maybe they would want to come back if we could get over our differences and do that, because there's been there's a comic I've seen going around where the aliens land and Jesus is on the cross and he's being crucified, and the aliens talking to the other alien, and he says, yeah, I think we should get out of here, Bob. And like, why do they want to be here if we're doing that to each other? What are we going to do to them? And so I think we have to demonstrate a level of maturity for them to even want to come back. So even if if they do build the temple, I mean, I'm not Jewish, I don't know, maybe somebody knows, how do they know for sure that this otherworldly entity will go to that temple?
Yeah, what if they come above the pyramids, or Stonehenge, or the Grand Canyon, or several other places, or Devil's Tower, any of the million other places that have been theorized?
Yeah, yeah, and so
And
the
what
Bible
and curveball, what if it's the Anunnaki?
yeah, yeah. I
What
mean,
if
that's
it's these 10, 12 feet tall, 12-foot tall, um, you know, versions of us that are step out of crafts, and, just are like, it's like, hey, we're back. We told you we'd come. We're here.
yeah.
What,
And I
what a
think there
curveball that would be.
I think there have been multiple races who have